Have you truly been born again of water and the Spirit? Written by Paul C. Young. Sermon 1. We must first know about our sins to be redeemed. Mark 7th chapter, verses 8 and 9. For laying aside the commandment of God, you hold the tradition of men, the washing of pitchers and cups, and many other such things you do. And he said to them, all too well you reject the commandments of God, that you may keep your tradition. Mark 7th chapter, verses 20 through 23. And he said, what comes out of a man, that defiles a man. For from within, out of the heart of men, proceed evil thoughts, adulteries, fornications, murders, thefts, covetousness, wickedness, deceit, lasciviousness, an evil eye, blasphemy, pride, foolishness. All these evil things come from within and defile a man. First, I would like to define what sin is. There are sins defined by God, and there are sins defined by man. The word sin, hamartia, in ancient Greek, means to miss the mark. In other words, it is to do something wrong. It is a sin to disobey God's orders. Let us observe the human viewpoint of sin. What is sin? It is to disobey God's orders. We recognize sin according to and through our conscience. However, the human standard of it varies according to one's social background, mental state, given circumstances, and conscience. Thus, the definition of sin varies among different individuals. The same action may or may not be considered sinful depending on each person's own standards. That is why God has given us 613 articles of the law to be used as the absolute standard of sin. We will look at the sins of human mankind. God's law, man's conscience, morality and social norms, national law, civil law. We should never set the standards of our sin upon our own conscience based on social norms. The sins of our conscience are not in accord with what God has defined as sin. Therefore, we should not listen to our conscience, but rather base the standards of sin on God's commandments. Each of us has our own idea of what sin is. Some consider it to be their shortcomings, while others deem it to be based on distorted behavior. For example, in Korea, people cover their parents' graves with grass and take it upon themselves to care for them until they die. But in one primitive tribe in Papua New Guinea, they honor their dead parents by feasting on the body with family members.